Pondering God Chapter 35. The devil made me do it. Over the most recent few years, I've heard a lot said about peer pressure and how it influences the teens in our society to make bad choices, behave in ways that go against what they've been taught. As if peer pressure explains or excuses the behaviors in question. Behaviors such as drug and alcohol use, premarital sex, foul language, and disrespecting parents, to name a few. We teach them God's morality, but the culture teaches them something altogether different. The inference here is that this pressure is somehow new or much greater than anything experienced in the past. I remember Dad's oft-repeated question to me when I was a teenager. Are you a sheep? If all the other kids, sheep, run off the side of a cliff, would you? At the time, I often thought, but dare not say, yes, I believe I would run off the side of the cliff with a lot of them. I'm here to say that this peer pressure is not new. Read Paul's words to the church in 1 Corinthians 5, verses 1 through 2, speaking of sexual immorality common in the culture. Nor is it unique to teens, and it comes in a variety of shapes and sizes. The Flip Wilson character, Geraldine Jones, often blames Satan for her decisions, and in one episode, while trying to explain the purchase of a new dress to her boyfriend Killer, Geraldine said this, "The devil made me buy this dress." It may have worked for Geraldine, but if I followed the other sheep off the side of the cliff, I usually found myself alone down in the valley, and Dad never let me blame the other sheep. I did what I did because I wanted to. When a teen grows up, becomes an adult, moves out to the suburbs, a new kind of peer pressure appears. The keeping up with the Joneses kind of pressure. It, like the pressure a teen feels, can be very subtle, but is often ubiquitous just the same. Because everyone else, our neighbors and friends, has a large house, a mortgage, maxed out credit cards, kid-centered lives, and all the toys credit can buy, it means that we too must play along. If we don't, someone might think us weird or not cool. We must have the newest whatever is new, because we must. And we tell our kids to have a mind of their own? Ha! We spend hours in front of the television, bombarded by messages leading us to make decisions that most often are not in our best interest. We can't allow our children to miss out or be ridiculed, so we allow their activities to interfere with and come between us and God. Sheep indeed. Politicians also face peer pressure in the form of lobbyists, special interest groups, and constituents. Whoever screams the loudest or exhibits the most influence, political donations, convinces the politician to lean their way when it comes to policy and law. The pliable politicians can't ignore these squeaky wheels, for it might cost them their jobs, power. The question of right and wrong doesn't weigh into the final decision. Large organizations are pressured to go against what they also know to be right. It only takes a small minority, with the aid of a large platform, to force groups such as the Boy Scouts to acquiesce to outside agitators, allowing influences into their organization that are not in their best interest or true to their core principles. The bigger question in all these examples is, who are you trying to please, God or man? This question is as old as recorded history. See Adam and Eve. In Matthew 14, verses 1 through 11, we read the story of King Herod and John the Baptist. After arresting John for telling the truth about his adulterous relationship with his brother's wife, Herod had John beheaded. Why? Herod bowed to the pressure from his wife, her daughter, and his dinner guests, those he refused to disappoint. Later, Pilate faced a tough decision from the account in Mark 15, verses 1 through 15. Brought before him were a murderer and Jesus. He was convinced early on that Jesus was innocent of all charges, but when it came time to decide who to release, as recorded in Mark 15:15, and wishing to satisfy the multitude, Pilate freed Barabbas for them, and after having Jesus scourged, he delivered him to be crucified. Pilate tried to wash his hands of the responsibility, but the decision was his to make. Jesus chastised the religious leaders of his day and said of them in Matthew 6, verse 1, Beware of practicing your righteousness before men to be noticed by them. Otherwise, you have no reward with your Father who is in heaven. And later, regarding their giving, that they may be honored by men. And again, regarding their prayers, in order to be seen by men. Jesus rightly called them out and instructed those around him to do these same things in private, to be seen by God, not by men, and receive a reward from him. As followers of Christ, we are under constant bombardment from the influence and pressures of the world in which we live. James 4:4 says, "Do you not know that friendship with the world is hostility toward God?" The question we all must answer daily is, who am I trying to please, God or man? We give in to these pressures because we want to, not because the pressure is too great to bear. If we stand up for what is right, based on what God says, we will be in the minority and will face ridicule, be made fun of, and may even be considered weird. And it may cost us. I've always loved the story of Peter in Acts chapter 4, verses 18 through 20. The leaders arrested Peter and John for teaching in the name of Jesus, commanded them not to speak or teach in the name of Jesus anymore. Their response is wonderful. From Acts chapter 4, verses 19 through 20, "Whether it is right in the sight of God to give heed to you rather than to God, you be the judge, for we cannot stop speaking what we have seen and heard." Who do you think Peter and John were trying to please? Do you think they were under any pressure to keep quiet? Later in Acts chapter 5, they again received threats to keep their mouths shut, but this time Peter and the apostles responded in Acts chapter 5, verse 29. "We must obey God rather than men." You see, obeying God is what pleases him. We can all be like Geraldine Jones and try to blame the devil, peer pressure, our friends and neighbors, and anyone else for our disobedience. But as my dad taught me long ago, you are responsible for your own actions. If you give in to these pressures, the devil didn't make you do it. Who are you trying to please?